when 9/11 happened, people scarred the Middle East because everybody thought, oh, they're all terrorists, they all go blowing up people for no good reason. Do you think that it's important, and do you think that a media lockdown should be put in place to save our good name, because Ireland is known as this happy place? Do you think it's important for media lockdown so that we're not known as the land of Guinness, river dance and paedophilic priests?
Oh yeah, I would say it just goes without saying, but I think we have other problems as well. I mean, with our I have to say my relationship with Ireland has changed an awful lot in the last decade, for reasons that I haven't fully analysed. I think it has something to do with my experience with writing about and directly experiencing the things we were talking about earlier. That might sound extreme until I put it like this: that you can believe in democracy. I mean, for many years I wrote to the journalists believing in democracy, believing in freedom, believing in justice, and believing I lived in a society by and large which provided these. And then I discovered that in this one area there was none of this at all. There was no democracy, no justice, and no truth, nothing. But moreover, that when I drew this to public attention, that there was no immediate rush in this democracy to put it to rights. On the contrary, there was an attempt to shut me up. And this alerted me to what I call a deep unhealthiness in the culture. So in a certain I mean, I think that, the kind of image that we might have now, it's an inevitable consequence of this screwed up society we've created, or which has been created in us by history, a history that we've never faced up to. And this is a whole other module which it brings me back to maybe what I used to write about maybe 10, 15 years ago, which is the whole kind of effective colonialism on Irish culture. And that's a profound subject, very interesting subject, which there's very little interesting commentary on in this culture, for precisely the reason that one of the primary symptoms of post-colonial cultures is denial. To deny that we are post-colonial, to deny there ever was a colonial process. But as Frantz Fanon, writing in Algeria back in the 60s, told us about, that this is a deeply psychological, psychiatric condition, which affects each one of us with shame, self-hatred, a lack of self-belief, and an inability to recognize oneself. There's a wonderful Native American, an Apache Indian, Cherokee Indian artist called Jimmy Durham, who does amazing found object art, but one of his works is a series of drawings of his own nose, and the point is that he doesn't know what his own nose looks like, because his self-awareness, his sense of identity has been taken from him. And so there's notes along with these drawings, these attempts to describe, to draw his own nose. And that's fundamental to our condition. And this predates, probably because of the age you people are, you would probably not be aware of this, because we've just come through 15 years of delusion, where all of the major questions were avoided because we thought we were rich. One of the great benefits of not being rich anymore is that maybe we'll now begin to open up again to the great questions, and actually this time not leave them until we've actually got to the bottom of them. But one of the most profound questions relates to our relationship for 800 years with our nearest neighbour, when our relationship was that of slave to master. And this has left us in a condition in which not alone are we affected by the conditions of the slave, but we feel moved at every opportunity to assert that we're not slaves, that we were never slaves, that these guys are our friends, they're our buddies. Well, they're not our buddies. They might be on a one-to-one basis, but historically, culturally, and in terms of the nationalities, they are not our friends. They're our enemies. They destroyed us. They killed millions of us, of our forefathers. They allowed them to starve to death. We need to come to terms with this. It's not a question of hating them. It's a question of understanding exactly what this has left us with. What is the legacy culturally? So, I mean, you mentioned the word river dance. River dance is a precise, symptom of this. Because river dance is something which is like Jimmy Durham drawing his nose. It's trying to reinvent the idea of what Ireland is, because we don't know what Ireland actually ever was. because we've forgotten, because it was interrupted by the penal laws and by the famine, and the rivers of our culture were driven underground. So now all we can do is reimagine it in some new way. And Riverdance was that, you know, an attempt to sexualize Irish dancing, which had been desexualized by screwed up Catholicism. You know, these are very interesting questions, but we're not allowed to look at them, because to do so would be impolite to our, you know, what does they call it? The great cliche back 15 years ago was, you know, we used to talk about, we would never talk about the famine, you would talk about our shared historical experience. You know, in other words, you know, the guy with the boot on your face, he's sharing an experience with you.